guys, Alexis Brady here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm super excited to chat with you today about something that I've been getting a lot of questions about, intermittent fasting. So those of you who have kind of followed me or my journey, you know that intermittent fasting is something that I've been doing for about a year, and I'm absolutely obsessed with it. I really love the way that it makes me feel, and about a year ago when I first started it, it helped me break through like a super long plateau that I just could not get past. And literally within a couple of weeks I had broke through it and started seeing changes in my body that I had never really seen before. So it was super exciting, and like I said, it makes me feel incredible. So one thing that's important to know about intermittent fasting is it's going to be very different than what you've been taught your whole life. So you have to kind of go into it with an open mind and be willing to, you know, learn and educate yourself on it, and also understand that it's going to be probably a little challenging in the beginning. I promise you, if you give it a fair shot, you will be super, I think, impressed and probably fall in love with it like I did too. So what is intermittent fasting? So basically what this is a way to manage how long you're eating throughout the day. So it's basically an approach. It's not like this is what you eat and this is what you don't eat. It's literally just an approach to eating throughout a specific period of time. So to give you an example, how I follow it is 8 hours eating and 16 hours not, or 16 hours fasting. So fasting just means you're not eating. Now, before you're like, holy crap, 16 hours, that's a really long time, keep in mind you're sleeping for a lot of that. So that's like overnight when you're sleeping. So I eat for 8 hours every day, and then I cut myself off, and then I fast for 16 hours. So typically, on any given day, I am eating my first meal around noon to 1. And I've worked up to that. So I didn't always start at noon to 1. Sometimes I'll even start at 2, but I have worked up to that. Like I said, I've been doing this for a while now, so it's much easier for me to do that. Basically what that means is that when I start my day with my first meal at noon or 1, or whenever you might break your fast, breakfast, break fast, get that? I eat my first meal. Now, what this typically looks like for most people that are doing this is that their meals are bigger and more fulfilling. So, you know, you're not eating every 2 to 3 hours throughout the day like maybe you've been taught. You're eating a bigger, more fulfilling meal when you break your fast, and then maybe another meal a couple hours later, and then maybe a third meal by the end of the day or before your evening or whatever. So for me, there's not a lot of snacking because like I said, I'm feeling satisfied, and you know, the cravings and things that I used to get were 100% because of the fact that I was eating every 2 to 3 hours. So let me kind of explain it this way, and I'm gonna try to keep it as simple as I can, but when we're eating every 2 to 3 hours, something happens. So we eat a meal and then our blood sugar spikes, right? And then eventually we run out of that sugar kind of rush that we got, that spike in sugar, it crashes. And so we get a sugar crash, or really just a crash after you have a meal. So if there's, you know, any time that you've eaten, and then after you eat, you know, 2 hours later, 3 hours later, after your body's kind of metabolized through all the glucose and everything from that meal, you get this crash, right? You might feel tired. Some people will even get, you know, where they feel like their blood sugar dropped, and they'll get like almost nauseous and shaky and feeling kind of like hangry, like you need to eat another meal. So that is very typical for people that eat every 2 to 3 hours, because your blood sugar spikes and then you burn through it, and then you eat again, and then your blood sugar spikes and then you burn through it. So this kind of process, which most people do following, you know, eating every 2 to 3 hour kind of plan, you could consider yourself a sugar burner. And typically this also means that your diet has a significant amount of carbohydrates and sugar in it. And it might even be that you're not aware of it. Maybe you think you're, approaching your nutrition in a healthy way, but you might not be. It might be that there's hidden sugars and hidden ingredients and things in your foods that you just aren't aware of. So it's super important, first and foremost, to know that if your diet is high in carbohydrates and sugar, that's gonna be kind of the first place to focus. But second place being, okay, like let's just fit in our meals throughout the day within an 8-hour period. And some people do it differently. Some people do it in 6 hours. Some people do it in 10 hours. Like there's all different ways. The most common and I think effective way to do it is 8 hours. So I start my meal, my first meal at 1 or 2 o'clock. It's bigger, it's more I feel satiated after I eat it. I'm fulfilled. I don't get this crazy like blood sugar crash that I'm getting. Now, I will also mention that I'm incorporating healthy fats. High fat, low carb approach to my nutrition. Now, I don't track macros. I'm not crazy like that, but I'm very conscious of the amount of carbohydrates and sugar that I'm intaking, and I'm also really focusing on healthy fats, increasing as much fat in my diet as I can, because fat is going to help you actually burn fat. And fat is something that we've been taught to stay away from for years and years and years. Like fat does not make you fat. Fat is not bad for you. Fat is something that we can all benefit from immensely, but a lot of us have like very little to no fat in our diets at all. And so that is one reason that you are feeling that hangry kind of blood sugar crash, like starving every 2 to 3 hour feeling. So if you were to start to incorporate more fats into your nutrition, you're gonna notice that you're feeling more full and satisfied for much longer. So again, starting my meal, my first meal, around noon or 1, and it's higher in fat, low in carbohydrates. I got protein, veggies. I usually like fill my plate up, lots of colors, whatever. Then I'm feeling good. And I typically don't get hungry again until, honestly, dinner. So I typically eat 2 to 3 meals a day, mostly 2. And I know some of you are gonna think this sounds crazy, but remember, I'm eating a lot of calories in these meals, way more than, and it's good quality calories that are fueling me and making me feel good throughout the day. When you have a diet that's really high in carbohydrates and sugar, again, your body is going to continue to crave that, and it's just never gonna get enough. With fat, your body really utilizes it in a very different way than it does glucose, or sugar. So one really neat thing about intermittent fasting and doing this is that it promotes the production of ketones in your blood or in your body. So ketones are basically another fuel source that your body can utilize. And so there's basically 2 ways, glucose and ketones, okay? So when you are intermittent fasting, as you're fasting throughout that 16 hours, something is gonna happen in your body. First, your body is gonna run through all of the glucose or sugar and carbs that it has, and then it's gonna run out of it. And then this could literally be taking place while you're sleeping. There's something that happens, and that is your body looks for a new fuel source because it ran out of glucose. So it takes stored fat in your body and it utilizes stored fat for fuel now. So those of you that have fat on your body, like you have a gut or you have love handles or wherever there's fat that you've had on your body, maybe you've had it on your body for a really long time. It's really freaking awesome and interesting and cool because this is the time that your body actually says, oh, I'm gonna go take some fat from them love handles and I'm gonna utilize that for fuel now. And when your body goes through this process, you go from a sugar burner to now a fat burner. So this is why I'm obsessed with intermittent fasting, because my body is utilizing fat as fuel on a regular basis, where most humans don't ever experience this and really are never having a production of ketones in their blood because they're eating every 2 to 3 hours and their nutrition contains high carbs and high sugar. Does that make sense? So again, it's super awesome because once you get through that first, I would say week or week and a half or 2 weeks maybe, but I feel like I caught on really quick. Your body will eventually kind of convert and it'll figure out like, okay, like she's fasting, and it'll go into that stored fat and start utilizing that. And then your liver in this process starts producing what I called ketones. And having a high level or higher level of ketones in your blood is gold, because it's going to create a sense of mental clarity, sustained energy. You're gonna have better mood, better sleep, more focus. It helps decrease inflammation in the body. There's so many incredible benefits to an increased level of ketones in your system. And this is a way to do that without having to do some sort of extreme diet like following the keto diet. Now, do I 100% believe that the keto diet is effective and efficient and incredible? Absolutely. It was started in the 1920s and used on kids with epilepsy to take away or lessen the amount of seizures that they were having. So when you kind of think of it in that way, in that sense, keto diet encourages the production of ketones in your blood. Well, so does intermittent fasting. So it's a great way to utilize and get those same benefits of you following a keto diet without maybe following a keto diet. Now, I really want to encourage you that if you're going to follow something like this, to be more aware of the amount of carbohydrates and sugar that you're intaking, and then also focus more on increasing fats into your nutrition. No, you don't have to be afraid of fat. You don't have to be scared of fat. Fat is not going to kill you. It's not going to make you fat. It's not going to hurt you. Really, your focus should be more on carbohydrates and sugars. There are so many incredible ways that our body can survive off of, you know, concepts or approaches that we are very, you know, skeptical or hesitant of because of the things that we've been taught over the years. But we've been taught these things, and for various reasons, but a lot of the information is false, and a lot of it has been, you know, kind of fueled by the government and by the food industry and by the farming industry. And there's lots of reasons why the first thing we, you know, have been taught is to get up and eat breakfast. And that typically is cereal or bread or toast or waffles. Like, it's so amazing when you kind of start to learn all these things and figure out, like, this is something that's been going on for decades. Like, that's not the best way. That's not the best way for your weight loss goals, but more than anything, it's not the best way for your health and for your wellness and for your brain. You know, for me, why I love intermittent fasting almost more than anything, besides the fact that I was able to break through a plateau and I just feel incredible and it really has gotten me great results, but the way that my brain has responded and how I just feel so much more energized throughout the day, and I don't have that sugar crash, or I don't have that midday slump. Again, if it's something that you're really interested in doing, put your health into your own hands. I tell people this all the time. There's so much false information out there. And I know there's a lot of information, and I know it can be confusing and hard to understand and hard to know, you know, what do I follow and what do I... Here's what I will tell you. Long-term benefits of it continue to show up in more and more research and articles and studies and things like that. So I hope this was helpful to you guys. I really wanted to make it not so much about the science and get really confusing with all the words and jargon, just for anybody that has never done anything like this before. So if you literally wanted to start doing this, my recommendation is to start slow. Maybe, you know, you start at 10 a.m. because that's like 3 hours later than what you're used to eating. Start at 10 a.m. Do that for a couple days and then push it back to 10:30. Do that for a couple days. You will get used to it. You will 100% get used to it. Another question that I get a lot is, you know, can I have coffee or anything like that? So when you're fasting, you can have water, you can have coffee, but you have to be careful what you're putting in your coffee. You want to keep it 50 calories or less in anything that you're having during the time that you're fasting. So I will put a little almond milk creamer in my coffee in the morning because it's like 15 calories and there's no carbohydrates or sugar in it at all. So it's just a tiny bit just to give it the flavor so that, you know, I don't have to drink it black. But I'm not actually breaking my fast with anything other than water or coffee until my time is up, until I'm ready to go, whether that's at noon or 1 or whatever. Really, the key is you start, whatever time you start, you have 8 hours. So you can eat up until 9 o'clock, but then you're done. Then you go to bed, and then you fast all the way up until the next day again at the same time. And it doesn't have to be the exact same time every day, just a general whatever, as long as you're giving yourself 8 hours and you're cutting yourself at 8 hours, then you're good to go. I hope this helps. If you guys have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out to me. I will also make sure to link. I have an ebook that you can check out that actually touches more on intermittent fasting, but it basically goes over my six approaches to health and nutrition to get results, to feel good, but to not feel, you know, like you have to be strict or deprived. So I'm not a macro and calorie counter. I don't really obsess over food anymore. I've been down that road, and I've kind of found a new way to approach the way that I eat that I really love. And so I've been sharing that and teaching people how to do it. And so yeah, you can access that and learn more about it in my ebook below. Thanks for tuning in, you guys, and we'll talk soon.